Hello, everyone. My name's John. I'm the Geeky Fanboy, and welcome back to my channel. After a short hiatus, I think last time I uploaded was like back in January. Now it's April. I was feeling a bit creatively burned out, to be honest, and the mental illness was mental illnessing a lot more than usual. And I didn't really know what to put out on the channel because I didn't really feel inspired or confident enough to put anything out. And basically what I've decided now is I'm trying to take this more in a more even more casual direction, I guess, and only really upload when I do actually feel like it. And I don't want to force myself to put stuff out if I like, because if my heart isn't in it, then it's not really going to be fun for anyone. So I only really now want to make videos and talk about things that I really do want to talk about. So not just for the sake of putting out content. So I've decided if there's something I really want to talk about, that's when I'm going to turn on the camera and talk to you guys. Whether it's going to be books or there's also some stuff about TV shows I've got planned that I would like to talk about, movies or whatever. Um, yeah, basically just me talking about all the stuff I like. And today I would like to talk about some books I've been reading recently. So, as you might know if you've seen some of my older videos, I've been trying to read more Korean literature since I've really gotten into K-pop, if that wasn't evident. And I've been reading a bunch of Korean novels from all kinds of different genres, and I've been really enjoying most of them. And the beginning of the year, well, I think by the end of last year, no, I think it was like around the beginning of this year. Uh, I tried to get more into like manhwas, like webtoons, web novels, that kind of stuff. And I encountered this light novel at my local bookshop, Semantic Error. So as you can tell, this is the German translation, since this is where I live in Germany. I do think there's an English translation, however, I'm not sure if there's an official English translation, but there's definitely one you can find online, I think. So, this light novel came out in Germany just a few months ago. However, the original web novel is a bit old already. I'm gonna check from when this actually is, if it says here. Yeah, so the original Korean story came out in 2020. And I've been reading this series. So this is actually a duology. I've finished reading the second novel just a few days ago, and now I just really want to talk about it because there's a lot that was going on while I was reading this series. So I'm probably gonna like go into like mild spoiler territory, I think, to like explain some stuff. And if I should go into like major spoiler territory, don't worry, I'll like give you a warning on screen or something beforehand. But what is semantic error actually about? So, Semantic Error is a boys' love story, as you can probably tell from the cover, about two young men named Sang Woo and Jeong. I'm also going to put up some pictures here of their manhwa and K drama versions so we can visualize the characters a bit better. So, it's about these two young men. They're both at university. Sang Woo studies sort of like computer, like IT stuff. I forgot what the actual subject is that he studies. Like computer sciences, that sort of thing, like programming. I think it's programming that he studies. And Jaeyoung studies graphic design. Jaeyoung is a tad older than Sangwoo, which will also be relevant. And these two men are fundamentally very different from each other. Like Sangwoo is a very introverted, stick to the rules kind of guy. He has his daily routine that he needs to follow. He has his personal rules that he needs to follow. He doesn't really like personally interacting with a lot of people. A lot of people find him off-putting, sort of robotic to a certain degree, and he doesn't really care about uh, taking care of others, so to speak. Like there's a thing that needs doing. He wants to do it a certain way, and if other people are like, yeah, maybe like do it that way, or I can't really do it that way, he'll be like, okay, yeah, shut up, I'll do it. So that's sort of who Sang-woo is. I'm gonna jump a bit more into his character in a minute. And Jaeyoung is sort of the polar opposite to that. Jaeyoung is very outgoing. He's very popular at university. Everyone likes him. He is a member in a bunch of clubs. He's an actor. He's a already sort of like well-renowned graphic designer who might go abroad after he finishes studies in Korea. So he's sort of like a big hotshot sort of guy, way more outgoing, like the party type sort of popular kid. And obviously, the story revolves around these two young men eventually falling in love. Okay, so if you've watched my channel for a while, you will know that I struggle finding romance stories that I really enjoy. So I've read some romantasy novels. I think I've exclusively enjoyed none of them. Um, Not because there's romance in it, but the romance in those books I haven't enjoyed really. I have read like a couple of contemporary romances that I also mostly struggled with, though I do have to make the argument that the ones I tend to struggle with more are the straight romances, and the queer romances I tend to enjoy way more. That's just how it is. Like, I'm not opposed to romance. There are romance stories or romance subplots in books that I enjoy. Like, I do like a good romance. I would say I'm a romantic guy. Like, even though I'm on the aromantic spectrum, if that makes sense, I still consider myself a romantic guy. Like, I just like the vibe, the idea of romance, I really like it, you know? And if there's a really good chemistry between characters, I really eat that up. Like I'm also like into like the shipping culture. Like I read fan fictions and all that. But I don't know. Like there's something about modern day romance stories that I have a hard time connecting with. I think. So when I discovered this book, I was like, let's give this a chance. It's boys love. I have read boys love mangas and manhwas that I really enjoy. And I was like, okay, I'm trying to get more into like Korean webtoons, web novel territory. So this just caught my attention at my local bookshop. I was like, sure, let's try it. Let's pick it up. It sounds kind of cute. And the thing is, I really like this. Like this first novel, I really enjoyed. So, what's the premise of the first novel? The first novel starts out with at the beginning or like the end of the semester, at university, Sung-woo needs to hand in a presentation for his class, and he does it all fine. And at the end of the presentation, it turns out that he put his name everywhere. Like originally there was supposed to be like two, I think three other people who were supposed to do the presentation with him, but they all like bailed on him or had a reason why they couldn't do it. So he just like put his name on everything. Was like, I did all the work. The other dudes didn't do anything. And one of those guys is Jeong. So the first couple of chapters are about sort of reading about Sang-woo's and Jaeyoung's life sort of independently, seeing what their day-to-day life is like, with Sang-woo being like this, as I've said, like strict by the rules kind of guy who does his own thing. And what really gets me about Sang-woo, because I might as well talk about it here right now, because you see it especially well in the first couple of chapters, Sang-woo is so aggressively autistic coded. It's genuinely sort of great. Like, the author did not intend for him to be autistic. The word autism never gets used. And you could make the argument as a point against the book that these autistic coded characteristics are sort of just used as a personality type sort of thing, which we do tend to see sometimes in like mangas or manhwa, that sort of stuff. However, like personally speaking, I really like the autistic vibes about Sang-woo's character. in the first book. There's a bit more to say in the second one. But like in this first novel, I really like him because he felt, first off, way too relatable. And I just like how, like, not an issue it was. Like, sure, there are some people who take issue with him being weird, but it's not necessarily portrayed as a bad thing. I just really like it. Like, he has this really sort of specific personal rules that he needs to follow. Like, for example, there's this moment, several moments where he has like this specific spot in each classroom that he needs to sit in order for him to be able to like properly follow the class. If he doesn't sit in this one particular spot, he cannot pay attention, he cannot hear the teacher, everything in his head goes completely messy because he's not in this one particular spot that he has decided is the spot he needs to be in. I get that. I get that. Then he always has the same daily routine, and we get to hear about it in detail. Like, it's put down what like the time frame for each thing is that he does throughout the day. Like, it says, I don't know, like 7:28 a.m. brush teeth, 7:43 a.m. grab bike and ride to school, 8 a.m. arrive at school, like that. And that's how we see his entire personal schedule. It's always the same, like when he gets up, how he goes to university, which classes he needs to attend. Then he always goes on a walk, always on the same way. Then he always gets the same type of coffee every single day from the cafeteria. He always gets the same type of lunch. Like, he's just in this very specific autistic coded personal routine that if something throws him out of that routine, he is completely lost and confused as to what is going on. And I really related to that. And I just really liked it because, yes, like there are characters in the novel who are put off by Sang-woo's behavior because it just be like that sometimes. And they're like, yeah, you're a bit weird, or hey, why are you so robotic? Why are you behaving like this? Or that this wasn't very fair of you. Like the stuff with the presentation. But the novel, I think, is like the first novel at least, never really portrays it as something that he has to change. And especially where, like, when the romance thing starts, it's not like Jaeyoung actively tries to go out of his way to change Sang-woo's personality. It's not like they enter a relationship and now Sang-woo changes or has to change in order to become a better person or to make the relationship work. That's not really the vibe I'm getting in this first novel, and I like that. Yes, sure, like Jaeyoung later on helps him to sort of helps Sang-woo to warm up a bit more to certain like social situations or to certain interactions. But it's never about like downright changing who he is deep down. And I really like that. So the novel starts with that we see what Sang-woo's day-to-day life is like. It's all about like, he took people out of the presentation they needed to do, so those people are now in trouble because some of them are also because all of those other people who were supposed to be in this group now can't finish this class and they won't get like that credit points for that class. So that will be relevant in a minute. And then we see that Sang-woo actually wants to develop a video game, sort of as his final university project, that he then can later use to sort of advertise himself when he goes to like look for jobs after university and all that. So he can be like, hey, I developed this really cool video game, sort of as like a credential sort of thing. Then turns out like one of the people he was supposed to work with for his video game turns him down. She's like, oh no, I actually got a really good job somewhere else and I really want to work there, so I don't have time to develop your video game, but I'll recommend you to someone else. And Sang-woo first is like, yeah, no, but then I don't want to do it. But the person's like, yeah, no, he's really, really good. Like here's some of his work. And Sang-woo's like, oh, that's actually really good. Okay, sure, I'll sign up. You tell him where we're gonna meet up, and then I'll see what he's like. And then meanwhile, we see what Jaeyoung's life is like. That he is this sort of outgoing party type of kid. He's a bit older than Sang-woo, and he's supposed to actually finish university. Like, he only needs to take one more class to get his final credits to finish everything and to get his degree. Turns out he was one of the guys in the work group with Sang-woo. and Jaeyoung just never showed up to any of the classes. He just had other people sign his name, like fake his signature in attendance. So he never replied to Sangwoo. Sangwoo did all the work for the presentation, and so Jaeyoung didn't end up getting his credit. So Jaeyoung doesn't manage to graduate at the end of the semester, and of course he's very upset about that. And he's like, "Oh, who is this? Who is this guy who denied me my degree? Ah, if I ever find out who that is." And he actually like tries to like, because at this point he doesn't know who Sang-woo is. He like tries to text him, be like, "Hey, you jerk! Why did you do this to me? If I'll ever find you, blah blah blah." And as it of course eventually turns out, at the meeting later, when Sang-woo goes to meet up with the uh, friend that was recommended to him for developing a video game, it turns out to be Jaeyoung. And that's where they find out who the other respective person is. And of course, at first it starts out being completely chaotic between them. Like, they don't like each other at all. So I like that it doesn't start off with them enjoying each other's company. They don't fall in love at first sight. There's no lust at first sight, nothing like that. They dislike each other. It's not like enemies. Of course it's not. It's like, it's a university setting, not rivals or anything. It's just that they are fundamentally two different types of people and they clash. And Jaeyoung essentially tries to annoy the hell out of Sangwoo as a sort of revenge type of thing, because now he has to attend another semester at university. So he finds out which classes Sangwoo is in. Jaeyoung enrolls in Sangwoo's classes, takes up his particular spot in the classroom, which of course bothers Sangwoo. Jaeyoung is there every single time. No matter how early Sangwoo gets there, somehow Jaeyoung will have already reserved that spot in the classroom just to annoy Sangwoo. He starts wearing the color red because Sangwoo said he doesn't like that color. And then, like, Jaeyoung starts buying all the cans of coffee from the cafeteria of that particular type of coffee that Sangwoo really likes. So you can argue that it starts off a little bit too bullyish. It never felt too cruel, personally, while I was reading it. It doesn't last for a very long time. Like, eventually, while they still not really like each other, they sort of start warming up to each other a little bit, and Jaeyoung stops bullying Sangwoo and says, "Hey, I actually do want to get to know you. Like, I was annoyed with not being able to get my degree, but you do actually seem like a cool guy. You're really good at programming. I do want to get to know you." And of course, Sangwoo is put off by that because, again, they're two fundamentally different people. But this is sort of where their relationship, where the development starts. And I like that this first book does feel like an actual slow burn. They start off not liking each other, and then the book takes time to actually build their relationship, to build their attraction towards each other, romantic and physical. And I just really, really like that because so many modern romances for me go way too fast and way too much. Like, very often it's like insta lust, even if the two characters don't like each other. There's still always this hint of, "Oh my god, I hate him, but he looks so sexy." And I'm like, I don't. Why? I don't need that. If you hate each other, you wouldn't thirst over him the whole time. Like the first fourth book, that sort of thing. I just really don't like that about modern romances. And I'm not bothered by the spice of it all. These books have spice, a lot of it. It's boys' love. Um, I'm annoyed with the insta lust of it all, and that very often the thirsting takes over the romance, even though the two characters are not even in a romance yet. And this doesn't happen in this. We see how these two actually take their time to develop feelings for each other. Like, we follow them throughout their semester, and they always have a couple of different encounters where they get to know each other's different sort of lives. And they do take the time to learn what the other person is like, and to see that, hey, Sangwoo might be weird, but that's not a bad thing. Or, hey, Jaeyoung maybe comes off as sort of like a very preppy jerk, but he is actually really warm-hearted deep inside and kind. And they really start warming up to each other, and I like that. And only then, like halfway through the book, maybe, physical attraction starts being a thing. So he's like the mild spoiler territory now. Like halfway through the book, when the romantic tension has been building sort of a bit, like more than halfway through the book, they do end up in a pub. They have food and they get a bit tipsy, not downright drunk. That's important. They just get like a bit tipsy and they start playing like a game where they have to answer questions, and it becomes very heated as sort of they get into this territory of like, is there someone you like? And the two end up kissing for the first time in sort of the heat of the moment. And what I like is that it's not like they're together from that point onwards. No, they're very confused about their feelings. Especially Sang-woo is like super confused because Sang-woo is like, why do I feel physical attraction towards this man? Towards this man I don't even like all that much, as he thinks. Especially since also for Sang-woo, this is the first time he's felt anything akin like attraction to another man. Jaeyoung is explained is bisexual and has had experience with both men and women. For Sangwoo, this is like completely new territory, and for Sangwoo, there's also this ingrained sense of internalized homophobia, which I don't think is even that uncommon, especially like in Korean culture. Like when they sort of try to talk about this attraction they're feeling towards each other, Sangwoo is very much like, I'm not supposed to be feeling this towards you. Being sexually aroused is just there so men and women can get together to make babies. Men and women get married. Dating means I'm gonna go out with the woman who I will one day marry. This does not happen between two men. This is sort of the mindset that Sangwoo is in, because he's just so confused by these feelings that he's never experienced. And Jaeyoung has to help him understand what is actually going on there. And they don't jump straight into, like I said, they don't jump straight into relationship territory. They sort of both have to figure out their feelings. And I like that on the side, there's like a second thing introduced that develops their relationship, namely Sang-woo says, I do want to make this video game with you. So they do start working on this video game together. And I like that this video game development plotline is a good way to explore their relationship. So I really, really like that. And I just have to say that I just like the progression of their relationship through this. And it does feel like a genuine slow burn. Like even by the end of this first light novel, you could argue they're a couple, but they themselves don't really feel like they're fully are there yet. Or more like there is still some discrepancy about how they both perceive this relationship, because Jaeyoung's already a bit further, but Sangwoo is still trying to figure out if this really is like a proper romantic relationship. Like you finish this book being like, okay, there's still a bit more going on. Now this book is spicy. This series has spice, especially the second book. But what I like about the spice in the first book is that it has a progression and it doesn't go all in from the very beginning. Now, obviously, I knew this series was going to be spicy. The boys love girl, the boys love, and I've read boys love manga before. I enjoy boys love, so that's not bothering me. And the spice in this, first off, it's not written in a super cringy way. It is graphic. Just saying, it is graphic. I do only read this if you're an adult. Just saying. But it's never described in a way that made me go that I have so often when I like read these popular romantic books and stuff like that. Sure, like as with personally, I think as with every description of sexual acts, there will be moments where you're like, but like I said, I never downright cringed. So it was written well enough, I think. In general, the book, at least the translation, the German translation I was reading, was in general written well enough. You have a good time like getting through it. And the spice in this first book, I like that there's always a bit of progression towards it. Like, it doesn't start out with them already full on, like the first time they make out, it's not like full blown make out sex, all like in the butt and stuff. It's not like that from the beginning, and I like that. So there is really a progression similar to their romantic feelings. There is a progression toward it. So it starts out with them just kissing for the first time, and they're like, holy shit, what just happened? And that's already a big step. And then they don't kiss again for a while after that because they have to figure out their feelings. They don't even talk about hand holding all that much. Like, they really have to figure it out, what this weird tension is they're feeling. And I like that they go a bit further each time. How there is similar to how there is a progression to their romantic feelings, there's a progression towards the spice. So they start out kissing, then the next time maybe they touch each other a bit more. Then in the next spice scene, maybe they take off clothes for the first time, and then in the next spicy scene, they start touching each other in more intimate areas for the first time. But nothing too serious yet. And then at some point, penetration gets involved. But that is not where we start. Like, there is a progression towards it, and I love that. That really adds to the feeling of the true slow burn, because there are so many books that contain relationships that are like, oh, this is like a really good slow burn. Like Fourth Wing, so many people called Fourth Wing a slow burn. I'm like, no, she thirsts for him from the beginning. And the series is 5 books long. They have sex twice in the first novel, and all together by the end of the first novel. That's not a slow burn. This is a slow burn. There isn't even thirst until like maybe halfway through the book, and then the thirst isn't even confirmed yet, like feelings wise from these characters. So this I really enjoyed. It's just genuinely a really fun progression to see where their relationship is going and to see how they both sort of like change each other in a good way. Like I said, Jae-young never outright changes Sang-woo in a way of where his autistic coded characteristics are a flaw that he has to change in order to be with Jae-young. But I like that you can see that they both support each other in their lives, that through Sang-woo, Jae-young learns to become a bit more quiet, a bit more serious, to actually reflect on his actions more. And Sang-woo learns to warm up to certain situations, to consider other people's feelings a bit more when he does something, and to address when something bothers him. Like, I like that communication is actually sort of a major issue in the beginnings of their relationship, because they do communicate in very different ways. So I really, really like this in the first novel, and it ends sort of like they split the story up in a bit of a weird way, so that the ending of this first light novel feels sort of abrupt, but it ends at a point where you're like, okay, they seem to be happy right now. They've admitted that they have an attraction towards each other and they do things together, but they're not fully there yet as a couple. So there's still some stuff where you're like, oh, okay, I can see where this is going in the second novel. So here we go. That's the second novel. It's slightly shorter than the first one. So this first novel basically picks up where the second novel picks up where the first one sort of left off. We only jump like a few weeks ahead or something, and Jae-young and Sang-woo are sort of like in a quasi relationship, but like I said, you can tell there's still some stuff that needs to be worked on in regards to their feelings. And if you saw the title of the video, you're probably wondering, where does this go? Where does it start going bad? In this one. Like, don't get me wrong, it's never outright terrible. I still enjoy these two as a couple and their story. It's just that this second book confused me in its pacing and its progression and what it all wanted to do. So this is also, again, where I just have to go into spoiler territory, because I just have to explain how it went from, hey, cool, to what are we doing? So The second novel, again, it starts out with they're at a point where they're like, okay, we definitely have feelings for each other, and we're maybe sort of a couple, I guess. Jaeyoung gets a call from his family. His uncle has died, so he has to go and visit his family for the funeral, and we find out a bit about um, Jaeyoung's family, that they're all like sort of like very hierarchical, high class Korean type of family, um, very patriarchal. So his grandpa's sort of the head of the family. His grandpa's sort of the only person he sort of likes in his family, even though he's also had his ups and downs with him. And he's basically like, I'm just here out of courtesy. I don't like any of you. And we also find out, because that will become relevant, Jaeyoung actually has a twin brother. His twin brother is a very successful businessman, not as outgoing as Jaeyoung. He's like way more like very reserved and serious, like sort of like typical businessman sort of person. And Jaeyoung's twin brother is called Jae Hong. Very similar names, which got me a little bit confused sometimes because Jae Hong will play a role later in this book. So Jae-young, main character, his twin brother, Jae-hong. So Jae-young actually leaves the funeral early because he misses Sang-woo so much, and he goes back to Seoul. They reunite, they have sex, and woo, the second novel has kicked off. So I do like the beginning of this because it shows us that yes, they are now admitting to each other that they like each other, but there's still a bit of trouble. Like Sang-woo talks about that Jaeyoung might leave, is probably going to leave Korea at some point because Jaeyoung originally planned on going to America to study more, like abroad. And since he's older, he's going to leave early, while Sangwoo would still be at uni. And Sangwoo's like, well, I guess when you're gone, I'm just gonna. I guess I'll have to find someone else to satisfy. To satisfy me. Essentially, that's what he says. Obviously, that's something that personally upsets Jaeyoung a lot, and Sangwoo doesn't really understand at first what he has just implied, like, because it sounds like he's just playing this off, this whole thing that they're having, as just a physical thing. That's initially what it starts out as in the first book, where they are like, okay, we're only gonna enter like a sexual relationship at first, but obviously it develops from there. And Sang-woo is still at a point where he doesn't really seem to want to admit that they are more than just friends with benefits. So obviously that comment of Sang-woo being like, well, once you're gone into America, I'll just find someone else. It really hurts Jaeyoung, obviously. So that is something they have to work through, which I think is good. Like, I like that there are like some bumps along the road before they like fully uh, come together as a couple. They also still work on their video game, and they actually, in the first third or something of the book, they actually finish developing the video game they want to work on. It becomes a big success, and they can use this on like their resume for when they go and leave university and all that. So I like this opening bit, as you see that there's still some things they need to work on and all that. And eventually it does get to a point where they're like, okay, we do like each other. We know that gay couples are stigmatized in our country, but we don't want to deny our feelings. We are together and we like each other, and we shouldn't have to hide that. So they do get to that point where they officially become a couple. And then there are some time skip. There's like a time skip of I think like several months. Like Jaeyoung is already like starting to like look for like work and stuff, and Sang-woo is still at university, and they're making plans of what they are gonna do eventually. Like, because Jaeyoung does sort of wanted to go to America, but then he said, I'm not gonna go to America because I want to stay here in Korea to be with you. But eventually they sort of get to the point where they're like, well, maybe we can both go to the American university if Sang-woo gets accepted there as well. So that's like a short storyline. And they they like together for like there are weird time skips now and then where you're like, oh, and suddenly it's 6 months later, and you're like, oh, whoa, 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 what? Or it says, yeah, we've been together now for 14 months. And I'm like, you've been what now? What? So the timeline felt a bit weird in this. They do eventually get to the point where they do plan on moving to America, to the United States, together. And they go on a big date, and Sungwoo actually plans on proposing to Jaeyoung. So this is sort of like the high point of the story of the relationship. You're like, oh, this is it. This is like the final bit. This is like the big thing, right? They've been together for like over a year now. They have future plans. They know what they want to do, and Sangwoo is like, in what does he say? He's like, in 6 years, once we've moved to America, once we've finished our studies, once we've established a life together, I want to get married to you. And it's like, woo, yeah, great, cool. And then you realize this is only the halfway point of this novel. And then the weird pacing stuff starts. Because this was like a main issue with this book. The pacing feels so off. Because you get to that point where they finally admit to each other that they are a couple. And you're like, cool, nice. And you're like, oh, that would be a way to end the story. But then it keeps on going. You're like, okay, but it's sort of still fine because it shows like how Jaeyoung finishes studies and he wants to go to America, and they do the whole, well, we could both move to America thing. And you're like, yeah, okay, that's fine. We'll sort of see what life they want to build in the future. And then it all builds up to Sangwoo proposes to Jaeyoung. You're like, okay, that's it. That's like the high point of the relationship now. It ends with, hey, we're gonna get married and move to the United States. And you're like, cool. And then it like keeps time skipping and it keeps going. So like the weird time skips continue, and we're now like in America. They both moved there. Like they're both working now. I think I'm not even. No, I think Sangwoo is still studying, and Jaeyoung is like full on working now as a game, like a designer, like a video game designer or something like that, like graphic designer. They both have a place they move into. They have a cat, I think, which is quite cute. And then it's just a lot of like boring everyday stuff that happens between them. Then there's like some nonsensical miscommunication error that causes them to have trouble for like 20 or 30 pages, and you're like, why are we doing this now at this point of their relationship story? It feels weird because you're like, weren't we at the point where we're like, great, we're there, we have resolved these issues and can now be, but it's like, no, now we gotta go back to this old miscommunication thing they've got going on. And you're like, why? Because they resolve it quite quickly anyway. And then another time skip. It's like a year before their wedding, I think. I'm not quite sure of this timeline. Like a year before their wedding, Jaeyoung's twin brother Jaehong comes to visit because he has heard that his brother and Sangwoo intend on getting married. And Jaehong, for some reason, really wants that to not happen. So Jaehong is also gay, but he's the type of man who doesn't enter serious relationships with other men. Instead, he always just has like one night stands, he has affairs with married men, and actually sort of enjoys breaking up relationships, which is weird. Like, to be fair, Jaehong is portrayed as being a twat, but still sort of weird. And Jaehong goes to visit them in the United States, meets up with Jaeyoung and is like, well, you plan on marrying this man. Why? This is not a good idea. This should not happen. This is stupid. You two are not a serious couple. There's no really a reason for this. There's not really a reason for this. It's more like Jaehong doesn't do serious relationships, so his brother isn't allowed to do serious relationships and get married. It's like, no. And what would our family think? And Jaeyoung just like offhandedly mentions, oh no, we told my family, or like Jaeyoung's side of the family. And yeah, they were a bit shocked, but they're fine with it. And Grandpa supports us. He only mentions this. We don't get to see this, by the way. But Jae-hong is so insistent on breaking up this relationship. He's like, this is not a good idea. It will never work, and I will prove to you that it won't work. And he actually says that he will seduce Sang-woo. He says, yeah, I've broken up engaged couples before by sleeping with the husband. I'm gonna make the same thing happen to you, and I'm gonna seduce Sang-woo. And then Jaeyoung, for some reason, actually gives him the chance to do that. Like, yeah, sure, I know that he trusts Sang-woo enough for this that this will not happen. But why does he give his brother even the opportunity to do that? Like, he actively called Sang-woo and is like, hey, my brother is in town. And then comes up with a bullshit excuse to, like, to bring Sang-woo together with Jae-hong. Jae-hong, like, is like, hey, my brother is in town. Can you go give him, like, a sightseeing tour? I still got stuff at work to do, and I can't do it. He doesn't have anything to do at work. So Sang-woo joins them. Jaeyoung fucks off, knowing what his brother intends on doing, and they have like 2 hours. Jaeyoung gives his brother a time frame of like 2 hours or something for this to happen. So Jae-hong, because we read this part of the story from his POV, Jae-hong just goes all in and tries to seduce Sang-woo, like flirts with him, takes off his jacket, rolls up his arm sleeve so he looks sexy. He tries sort of like innuendo language, that sort of thing. Sang-woo, of course, to a certain degree, just doesn't get it. Again, sort of very autistic coded, sort of. He doesn't get at all what Jae-hong is even trying to do here. And Jae-hong is just like, he thinks he's got this in the bag. There's like moments where there are legit moments where the two of them are actually like really close to each other. But it's because Sang-woo is so fascinated by how similar Jae-hong and Jae-young look. Because, yeah, they're twins. And there's like this whole point of that Jae-young is like absolutely gorgeous looking. So when Sang-woo meets Jae-hong, he's like, oh my god, he looks so gorgeous. And they're actually like this close face by face. And Jae-hong thinks, oh, I got this in the bag. I seduced him. And Sang-woo is like, just like, oh my god, you look so similar to my fiance. There's no reason for this to happen again. And like for 30, 40 pages, I have to read about how Jae-hong intends on seducing Sang-woo. And it's so stupid because you know it's not gonna happen. We're like this far into the book. It's not going to happen. Why is this happening? There's no reason for this to happen. And of course, eventually they go on a trip through town. Like, Jae-hong tries to find several moments where he can sort of like insert himself, not into Sang-woo directly, but I mean that is what he intends on doing. Sort of like get close to Sang-woo. They like go through a fancy dinner at some point. It turns out Jae-young is actually spying on them. He like puts on a wig and stuff, and he follows them. I think it's supposed to be funny, but it's just a bit eh. And eventually Jae-hong realizes that he won't be able to seduce Sang-woo, and he leaves. He just pisses off and goes back to Korea. And Jae-young explains to Sang-woo what was going on. And that's where that plot point ends, and you're like, so stupid. But what results from that, actually, is a moment of intimacy between them. We're actually going to talk about the spice in the second novel in a bit. But what results from this short plot beat is that they go home together, and Jae-young actually puts on one of Jae-hong's shirts. Like, so he purposefully sort of dresses and behaves like him, and it's sort of supposed to be a fun intimacy moment where they do role play, because it's said that they do enjoy role play now and then in the bedroom. So the important thing is Jaeyoung is the one who initiates this. He dresses up as his brother and sort of pretends to be him, and it's sort of supposed to be like this affair role play where he's now the one who seduces Sang-woo. So Jaeyoung doesn't know anything. Like, it's role play, and Sang-woo is actually sort of into it. And but the thing is, he's into it too much, and then Jaeyoung suddenly doesn't like it anymore. Like, of course you can call off an intimacy moment, a role play moment at any time. Of course. It just feels a bit odd that Jaeyoung is the one who initiates this, fully knowing what this is. And when Sungwoo is like, oh yeah, sure, I'm gonna go with it, Jaeyoung is like, oh no, that's actually bad. I don't know. And they have like a major row over this. That Sungwoo was like going along with this cheating role play. And they have a big row and they fight. But then they get over it like a few pages later, and you're like, what are we? Why? What are we even doing? And then they end up having sex anyway, just not in roleplay form. Then we have I don't actually know if this happens before or after the Jae-hong plot bit. Then they have. This is genuinely one really sweet chapter in the second half of this book where they go and visit Sang-woo's family. And Sang-woo's family doesn't know yet that their son is together with a man. So they intend to go to his family to tell them that they're gonna get married. And it's actually a really sweet chapter, I think. It's sort of written from Jaeyoung's perspective, and he ends up talking to Sang-woo's dad about how he's like, I love your son, and we're actually together, and we plan on getting married. And Sang-woo's parents are actually quite understanding. At first they're a bit like, oh, okay, that's a bit unusual. We didn't really expect that. But yeah, if it makes our son happy and the two of you are happy together, that's great. And that's a genuinely really, really sweet chapter, I think. And they just are at this point now, for this entire second half of the chapter, they are at this point where, like, they're engaged. They're gonna get married. And now we're just gonna introduce a bunch of like random time skips and random minor plot beats so the story can keep going. And you're like, what are we even doing? By the way, this doesn't rhyme up to them getting married. They're not married at the end of this. I think it's still either we skip. I'm not even quite sure. Either we don't have a wedding ceremony, is what I'm saying. We're not like ramping up to them having a big wedding ceremony or anything. What this does actually, how this book ends, massive spoiler, I guess, bothered me a bit because it just ends on such a weird note. The last chapter is they plan on going on a big holiday that they've planned for a really long time. And it's Jaeyoung wakes up in the morning. He's actually a bit late because Sang-woo has prepared everything already. And he's like, hey, you've got a few minutes to get ready. We really need to get going. We need to get our flight. They're going to Canada, I think. And you're like, oh, cool. They're going to go somewhere. They're going on holiday. But hey, there's a tight schedule. But then it just sidelines into, hang on. You're actually looking really good right now. And they're in the garage. Sang-woo is literally like, we do not have time. We need to catch a flight. But Jaeyoung is like, yeah, but you're looking hot right now. And then they start making out in the garage, and then the book ends. Like, I can literally show you the picture, because there's pictures. This is literally the final bit of this, and then the book just ends. And this actually brings me to another flaw of the second novel, the spice. The spice in the second novel, it's too much. Again, I get it. This is a BL got a BL. I knew there was gonna be spice. I enjoy spice now and then. Again, I read fanfiction. This one had really good spice. I liked the sex scenes in this, even though they were quite graphic. But in this, there is no development to the spice like in the first one. They're just having sex, and it feels like they're having sex all the time. Like, it feels like whenever a sort of like mildly relevant story beat was over, they would start making out. Like, they would make out, and 15 pages later, more sex. And it just got annoying. After to a certain degree, it just gets annoying. I'm like, I know, I get it. This is a BL. This is gonna be spicy, but oh boy, can you like the frequency of it was just like way too often, like way too high. Like I said, like the book literally ends with them having to go somewhere right now to catch a flight, but hang on, we gotta have sex first, and then the book ends. You're like, really, really, because the spice for me loses its interest, so to speak, if it appears too often. Like, it's okay to have spice in a romance book. I like this couple together, and I like seeing them be a bit more intimate now and then, because it's like, sort of that. But if this happens like every 20 pages, the stops being exciting and it just goes to, okay, we're doing that again for like the next 6 pages. Okay, that. And I don't really want that to happen in a romance book. So I really just wished, again, like the spice wasn't written badly or anything, but it just happened too often. Like, I do appreciate that there was an attempt made to make some sex scenes feel a bit more different now and then, like, as in who does what sort of thing. But then also, I think they have, combined with like the first book, I think they have like on page car sex at least 3 times, and I'm like, we already did the car sex several times. We don't need to do it again. Do something else. Do a role play sex scene. That would have been fun and interesting. Sort of that. And also, what bothered me about the intimacy between them was this was a minor issue in this first one, that sometimes Jaeyoung would be a bit too pushy with Sangwoo when they were doing things. It's not that big of an issue in this first one. It really isn't, because they do also talk about it, and they also take their time to do things. However, in this second one, there were moments when they did stuff, especially during the more intimate scenes, where Sangwoo straight up said, I don't feel comfortable, this hurts, or I think he straight up starts crying, and Jaeyoung just keeps going. Or it's portrayed as sort of a barrier that they have to break through in order to like really reach the heights of their sex right now. You know, sort of this classic problem that a lot of BL stories have, where like, is this entirely consensual? Is this consensual? It's very vague. Sort of that, which I really don't like when BLs do that. And that happened a tad too often for me in this, where I'm like, he literally just said he's in pain. Please stop. They don't even have like a safe word or anything, which I think is odd considering that they literally talk about that they enjoy stuff like roleplay. Like they don't have any of that. So I didn't enjoy that aspect of their relationship anymore. And also, and I hinted at it earlier, I enjoyed that in the first one, Sangwoo's personality, which was so autistic coded, was not seen as a thing that needs changing. This feels a bit different in this one. In this one, it does genuinely feel sometimes like the book is trying to say, hey, Sangwoo had to change in order for this relationship to now be as great as it is. And that feels disingenuous, and it feels genuinely strange. Like, the first one did such a good job portraying this as a thing that, like, Sangwoo doesn't need fixing. He doesn't need fixing. So, sure, like, there are moments where he, like, learns how to handle certain situations better, because that's just how they work. But it never felt like Jaeyoung is going out of his way, or the world's going out of its way to, like, be like, you have to change so this actually works. Doesn't feel like that in the second one. Like, in the second one, there are genuine moments where it's like, Sangwoo, the way you are is weird. You have to change it, otherwise this is not working. And Jaeyoung, there is aspects to Jaeyoung, how he treats Sangwoo, where it does feel like he has fixed him a little bit, so he is more acceptable in a relationship, or he's more acceptable to deal with. And I don't like that. Like, Sangwoo still is very much sort of neurodivergent coded and he is still weird. But again, the narration makes a point of saying, yeah, but there were things he had to change and that had to be fixed about him in order for us to get to this point where they are fully happy together. And I just really didn't enjoy that. So basically, the second book starts off okay, and it gets to a point where you're like, cool, and now their relationship journey is done. And then the book just keeps going. It just keeps going and going and going. It does sudden time skips to mundane things, and then it introduces like random, out of nowhere plot beats that have nothing to do with any like larger development of their relationship. It just feels like we have to keep this story going for a while longer. Like this whole thing with Jae-hong is so random. It's like this book just tries to come up with random bullshit so we can get more pages out. And while I didn't hate it, I was really glad to be done with this book by the end, because I just felt so annoyed the last 100, 200 pages, because I was just like, what are we doing? What, like, I just want to be done. And it's sad that I sort of felt like this by the end of the book. Like, again, it wasn't terrible. I think I still, like, oh my goodness, I give this like 3 stars or something. I still mostly had fun with it, but it had major points where I was like, what are we doing here? So there's actually a K-drama adaptation of this story, and I think they actually nail the ending there, because they mostly focus on this first novel and sort of wrap it up with a little bit from the second one. Like in the K-drama, it ends with them at the end of the semester, and Jaeyoung decides that he's not going to move to America. He says, I'm in love with you, I want this relationship with you, so I'm not gonna go abroad, I'm gonna stay here with you so we can work on our relationship. They fully accept this situation, they are together now, it ends with them on a happy note and a bright future ahead. And I like this. That's like the K-drama adaptation is genuinely really good. They managed to like really capture the personalities of both characters. Both actors are doing a fantastic job, and this story, like Semantic Error, was actually responsible for sort of introducing this boys love genre to the wider audience. Like this was one of the first major boys love K-dramas that Korea produced, and it sort of introduced the boys love genre to more of a mainstream audience, which was also one of the reasons why I really wanted to get into this. And I've now consumed this story in multiple different forms. Like I've read the original light novels, I've watched the K-drama. There's also a manhwa adaptation that I've already read 4 volumes of. I genuinely really enjoy this relationship. I'm just upset that it squanders all of it in like the last, if you combine these two, sort of like in the last third, I guess, it does so much weird random stuff where I'm like, what are we doing? We had a good thing going, you could have ended it exactly at that point, and this would have been genuinely fantastic. But alas, that didn't happen. But I would still recommend the story to you, honestly. If maybe if you're like me, new to the light novel genre or the BL genre, the first novel is genuinely really good. I genuinely had a lot of fun with it. If you don't mind some spice here and there, I think this was really really entertaining. And go and watch the K drama. The K drama is also genuinely really cool and very funny, and the 2 actors are doing a really good job. So yeah, that's my review of Semantic Error. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. I've been now talking about these 2 novels I've been reading for the past few weeks for an hour now. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm trying to do more stuff. I just want to talk to you guys about stuff I enjoy. I just want to talk about some random stuff I'm into. And this was one of the things I've been really into in the past few weeks. This little Korean BL story. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done already. You can tell me in the comments down below if you know anything about this story, if you've consumed it in any way, like the K-drama, the books, the manga, whatever. Do tell me down in the comments below if you know anything about it. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see all of you very soon. Goodbye.